the ability or power to infringe upon or remove one's rights. And our rights are not subject to the law. The law is subject to our rights.
And yet we see our rights being abused, at every turn. Could I throw at you the label or the term sovereign citizen? Would you be described as one of them or as a sovereign citizen?
This is a common question I field a lot, Dennis, and I always have a laugh when I hear the term sovereign citizen, because it is, in fact, one of my three favourite oxymorons. Now, my other two being natural person and banking integrity. None of these words belong together. The idea of anyone being able to be sovereign and a citizen at the same time is absurd, and the definitions of both sovereign and citizen are quite the opposite to each other. It is legally, lawfully, and physically impossible for anyone to be sovereign and a citizen at the same time.
So what exactly does citizen mean?
We want to be looking at things like the Citizenship Naturalisation Act of 48 and some other citizenship acts that describe what that is. Basically means you're a citizen of the particular country, but the way that things have gone with the tricky use of language and the way things have changed over the years, particularly since 1973, that the language has slightly changed. So if you're an Australian citizen, you're more the citizen of what's defined as a corporation or a company as opposed to a landmass or a country. Because technically speaking, we're not Australia here. We are the Commonwealth of Australia. And that has been slowly eroded from a lot of our government documents over time, same as we seem to have lost our Parliament of the Commonwealth of Australia, and we now have an Australian Parliament. Our government of the Commonwealth of Australia has been replaced with an Australian government. And these are some tricky terms that they plays on words, if you like, where it sounds the same, but it has an entirely different meaning. And that different meaning also puts these entities, whether they be an Australian government or a government of Australia or a government of the Commonwealth of Australia, puts these entities in different jurisdictions in the eyes of the law as to their limitations as to what they can and can't do with or over we the people.
This is very much what you're talking about the little get out of jail cards for the corporations and the industries and the magistrates and the QCs or should I say KCs now. They are aware of these nuances. The average person is not aware of them, and they bank on people like yourself or myself even not knowing that these tiny little twists and changes to the words in the legislation make a whole lot of difference, which basically disempowers us.
Well, it's an attempt to do so until we look at why and how and what they've changed. And was it done lawfully with due process? There are certain rules of engagement, if you like, that our government is supposedly required to uphold and be beholden to by their own legislation and laws. And this is where people like myself who are good at researching are able to bring them undone, because we can find holes in their process and show that it was not done by the correct or due lawful process or procedure, in which case it undoes what they've done lawfully speaking and they cannot enforce it anymore. And we've got a whole lot of trickery and deception. The last 3-4 years with COVID has been a great example of that, Dennis, to see how they can twist and contort the words of one section of a legislative act or instrument to give it a completely different meaning, even if that meaning is opposite or contrary to the definitions of that particular piece of legislation. And this is where they've caught a lot of people out with COVID fines, for example, and various other claims that have been made against people. They've been unable to supply the factual evidence to support the claim. And when these claims have been challenged before the courts, in light of the fact that there is no verifiable or valid evidence or facts to support the claim is then dropped. And then they have to withdraw the claim or the charges against you based on the fact that they haven't applied correct lawful or judicial procedures to enact the fine or enforce it. And the legislation that may or may not have been used in that instance may or may not have been used correctly for that particular situation either. Now, if they've done errors in their application of the law, then they must withdraw the claim and the matter. As people like me have had a lot of success helping people with some of the more sillier COVID fines, which haven't been enacted properly and have been applied incorrectly for the situation.
What you're saying is that they do whatever the hell they want until they're caught out. And it's people like yourself who are using their, I guess, deception, really, against them to bring more balance back.